What is going on, guys? It is Sunday. It is Easter. As you can see, I'm still in a dorm. I just moved upstairs from where I was because of, coronavirus and all that. So today's video, little disclaimer, is going to be a little touchy. If you don't like listening in on me just talking about my life story, I'll let you know it just gets a little deep in there a little bit. It's gonna be kind of hard to make this video and at some points. But like I said, it's a disclaimer. If you don't want to hear about it, then just go ahead and click off of it. I understand. So let's get into the video. So, like I said, this video can be touchy at some points. I really don't know how to explain it. I'm gonna be saying a lot of ums, I'm gonna be honest with you. I guess we could start off with where I'm from, who I actually am. I made a separate video on like the who I am section. What I'm doing in life right at the current moment. But you guys don't know my past life really. Most of you guys who are watching, you guys are from high school with me or people I've met here in college. Some of you guys are not random people, but people I've met through Xbox, streaming on Twitch. You guys follow me there, or you guys are just some other friends that I haven't talked to in a while. So starting off, like most of you guys know, my name is Chester Downey. I'm also a junior. My father, he never changed it to senior, but he was supposed to. But I'm attached with a junior. I also go by, CJ for Chester Jr. It's mainly like a family name or a really close friend's name. Some of you guys have nicknames for me, like Big Chest, Cheese Ball, Chesta, or something like that. And then I have, I guess what you could call my aliases for online, which are like Legends, DHG Retro, KNG Legend for some of my Twitters, or for YouTube, Downey Productions, my last name, and Productions. I was born February 20th, 2001, outside in Michigan. I was born in a not the small city, it's the second largest city in Michigan, Grand Rapids. It's right outside of Lansing, right by Michigan State University. Both my parents, their families are from around that area. My mom's family mainly lived only in Michigan. Some of them moved out a little bit though. I know my aunt moved, Florida, Pennsylvania. But most of her family stuck around there. My dad's side of the family, they were also from El Paso, Texas. That's kind of like why I'm here as well, or I'm from El Paso as well. But some of them lived in Michigan. He lived in Michigan for about 30 years of his life, and the other was here or down in El Paso. We grew up, or I grew up as an only child. I didn't have that many friends in Michigan, I guess you could say. I was kind of a weird kid. I kind of still am a weird kid, to be honest with you. I stuck to myself a good amount. I had one really good friend. She lived across the street. I think she's like 2.5, 3 years older than me. But we just clicked, we were just good friends. We would always hang out together, do random things, ride our bikes around the neighborhood. We'd go snowboarding, or not snowboarding, snow sledding. When it would snow, we'd go roller skating, everything, all through the summers and everything. We'd always hang out a lot. And then throughout, elementary school was alright. I got bullied a lot. I was always a chunky kid, so I was always getting bullied. I switched like 3 or 4 different schools in Michigan. I went from, I believe it was Eastern Elementary. I did my pre-K and kinder there. And then I went to Aberdeen Elementary. I did first and second there. And then in my second grade, I moved to other elementary schools I don't even remember the name of. I was only there for a couple weeks and whatnot for each one. And then eventually I got pulled out of school around the middle of my second grade year, and we found out that we were going to be moving to El Paso. The reason we were moving to El Paso kind of came to a shock to me. My dad's mom, my grandma, lived in El Paso. She was getting really old. When we moved, she was in her late 70s, but she had Alzheimer's, dementia, tons of different, like, I guess you could say diseases. Alzheimer's is a disease. So she had tons of those that were just not, she couldn't handle, life on a daily basis without someone there to help. Not live with her, I guess you could say, or like a caretaker, but having family around, which she had I believe it was 2 of her sons were already in El Paso with her. One of them lived across the street, but we'll get to that uncle later. And then one that lived in the lower valley, which is not too far away from El Paso, maybe like a 10-minute, 15-minute drive at the most. So we packed up our house in Michigan. We sold it. Didn't make any money off of it because we still owed money on it. We packed up a U-Haul, packed up the car, and left Michigan on June 4th of 2008, I believe it was. Normally it's like a 2.5 day trip from Michigan to El Paso with stops overnight. So we were about 2 days in, and I don't remember what state we were in, but we were just driving along a 4-lane freeway, and we had a semi-truck in front of us, and we were in the U-Haul. We had a tow guard in the back that would tow your car by 2 wheels and let 2 wheels spin. And the 18-wheeler blew his tire out, which is not uncommon for 18-wheelers. They always blow their tires out. And when he blew his out, though, his front fender broke off, flew over his truck. I don't think he was towing, or it either flew over his truck and he wasn't towing, or it just rolled under him, and then it was in front of us, and we were gonna avoid it. We were gonna move over to the left lane or the right lane because we were in the middle. But I remember it kind of distinctly. We had like a yellow Camaro on our left that we moved over, we would hit him, and if we moved over to the right, I think we were actually in the far right lane, we would go off the road. So my dad made the decision just to run over it. He said, what's the worst that could happen? So as we ran over it, nothing bad happened at first, but then apparently the U-Haul started making some weird movements right after we kind of did it a little bit. So we pulled over to the side, the trucker pulled over and everything, and we go look at our car in the back, and it clipped off part of the back fender. And something was wrong with the U-Haul. I don't remember. I think something was wrong with it overheating in general, besides it being hit by the fender. So it took U-Haul about like 3 hours to get to us in the middle of the desert. So they fixed us up and everything, and we got back on the road. We headed to somewhere. I think we got to Oklahoma. I think it might have been. Took our night there in a motel. Actually, they switched motels because there was bed bugs in that motel. And then we got back on the road, and we arrived in El Paso the next day in the afternoon. We spent 3 months with my grandma living in her house. She had 2 spare bedrooms already, so my parents took one, and I took the big day room. There was nothing really wrong with it. My mom got along with her mother-in-law, and then of course my dad got along with his mom. So it was actually during the summer of school. So we didn't have to. I didn't have to go to school. I was just enjoying life, and then we ended up moving out of her house into an apartment next door to my elementary school. Um, so we moved out. We went to that apartment. Always had problems with the apartment. We only paid like 600 or 650 a month for 2 bedrooms. It was a double story type of deal, but we lived in the bottom story because my dad and my mom had back problems. We lived next to my high school that I went to's softball field. Here in Texas, a lot of times what they do is they'll put the high school softball stadium off campus and near the campus, if that makes sense. Typically they'll put it near a elementary school. I know actually one of the high schools, it was actually really far away, which kind of made no sense to me, but it is what it is. Um, so we moved into that apartment. We lived there, I believe it was 2.5 years, and then we moved out of there, and we actually moved into the house right across the street and to the right of my grandma my fifth grade year. Throughout elementary school, I was bullied, of course. A lot of you who are watching, you know me. You might have actually bullied me, but most of it was forgiven because we were kids. So we moved into that house, and next door was my uncle. Across the street was my grandma. So every day after school, I would walk across the street to go see my grandma, and I'd always have a Pepsi with her because that was her favorite drink. And we'd talk for about an hour, hour and a half, and just to give her company. Um, so then after that, I went to the middle school, not too far from my house. It's walkable distance. I went there. Sixth grade was a little rough. My mom found a job my fourth grade year, I believe it was, or third grade year. She got a job on the military base. She was a custodian at first. Well, she was a custodian and everything. She did all the cleaning for the big facility that she had there and whatnot. And she did some cashiering for the buffet lines and bartending when she had to, and special event setups and cleaning and everything like that, serving. So she did a lot of that throughout my school life. And then I went to middle school. All was good. I had a really good couple friends. Uh, like I said, went to middle school. Sixth grade, you couldn't play sports, which I was kind of bummed out about. So it was what it is. Uh, so throughout middle school, of course, still got bullied. I was always a big kid. During seventh grade year, though, I started up playing football for the middle school. I had decent grades. I wasn't the greatest. I was never good at math or anything like that. Um, so I played football, and that's when my body shape started changing. I became more lean, more fit. I wasn't, fat. I was kind of, chunky, but acceptably chunky, I guess you could say, for a middle schooler. Um, did really good in football. I was a starter my whole seventh grade year. Um, did really well. I think I was like, when we did our awards at the end of the year, the defensive MVP or whatever was like, got given to another person, but I was in the close runner-ups, I think it was, something like that. I don't remember. Then I also did track. My dad was a shot putter in high school and middle school, so he wanted me to do shot put, but I just didn't have the upper body strength for it. I had more speed in my body at the time, um, for lighter objects. So the coach said you're gonna do discus anyways. So I kind of had no choice. So the first meet, I threw shot put. I got like 11th place. I didn't do good, but I threw discus, and I didn't know how to do like a spin or like a half spin or something like that. I just stood at the front of the ring and chucked it. And my first one, I got 79.9, which was pretty good for a 7th grader to get, don't get me wrong. And I ended up getting first place that meet. Don't know how. I never threw a disc in my life. That was legit the first time I ever threw it. And I just stood at the front of the ring and chucked it. So, got first place. Turns out I was a way better discus thrower than what I thought I was, and I was a way worse shot putter than I thought it was. So, throughout 7th grade, I was told I had to throw both. So, I didn't focus too much on shot put because I knew I wasn't going to get better at it. So, I focused a lot on discus. So, I threw disc. Every meet, I was getting no worse than third. I was always getting like third, second, and I had a good amount of first place finishes. So the division meet came up, and in the division meet, you had to get top 4 to move on to districts. And there was 2 divisions, so you would have 8 people all total. So I went to the division meet, and it was actually at my high school that I went to, so I got to throw on, a high school sized discus ring, and it felt really good. Well, actually, I'll take that back. All the meets were at a high school place, but the division was always at the biggest high school, and my high school was pretty big. So we threw there. I believe 7th grade, I got second place in division. I went from a 79.9 at the beginning of the year. I went all the way to a 128.5. And yeah, that was my 7th grade year. And these were with the smaller discs, so, it was a pretty good, don't get me wrong. So I advanced to districts, and then at districts, I kind of choked. I got 4th place. I just didn't throw well. I think my best throw was a 98, which was not normal. Normal throws for me throughout the season had been up in the 110s, 115s. So yeah, I kind of choked there. No excuses for it. So the next year comes around, 8th grade year. I did football again. Didn't do the greatest. I was subbed in here and a lot. There was just some things going on. I played decent though. Our team didn't do so hot. My 7th grade year, actually, for the football team, we were, I think, like 6-2. Didn't make it anywhere. You had to be like the top person to play in like a district meet or something like that. I don't remember. 8th grade year, we were 4-4. I didn't do so hot. And right around that time after football season ended, my dad wasn't doing so hot in general in health. Around Thanksgiving break of my 8th grade year, he started having some complications. I can't remember exactly what they were, to be honest with you, but we did notice that he was getting like red spots all over his body. My dad had a lot of different things wrong with him in general. He had high blood pressure. He had diabetes. He had heart problems. He had stents put in his heart because he's had I'm not sure if he had strokes or whatnot. He's had back surgery. There's a lot of things wrong with my dad. So we took him to the hospital. They ran tests and everything. And it turns out he had cancer. It was stage 3 acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is a blood cell cancer that affects your blood. And it was hard, honestly. It was over Thanksgiving break. I really couldn't think much about school. I tried to hang in there a lot. My teachers were really close with my dad. They loved him. Everyone loved him. So he hung in there for a while. They did bone marrow transplants throughout the next coming weeks. Gave him whatever it's called. They gave him chemotherapy. He was in and out of ICU a lot. Um, wasn't it wasn't helping him much. The drugs, and Christmas break rolled around, and he was always in ICU. Um, his gallbladder exploded on him. He didn't really feel it, but the nurses found out. So they said if they take him into surgery and do all what they needed to do, that there's a low chance that he was going to come out. But if they didn't do surgery, there was a low chance that he would survive much more than a day. So he could barely talk at the point. He didn't have consent to do it. And me and my mom weren't around at the time. We were doing something. So they made the executive decision to take him into surgery, which was not right. We got to the hospital not too long after they put him in surgery, and we found out that he was in no need for it, or he was in need for it, but that it was a really risky surgery, and we would have rather let him have his last few moments with us without having to go through surgery than to go through surgery and come out not talking. So he comes out of surgery about 10 hours later. They put him in the ICU, and he's basically dead already. There's nothing we could do. They put him on a ventilator, life support to try to keep him alive. Motionless, nothing. I go in there. It was around like 11 at night. I go in there and I see him just fucking laying there, hopeless, lifeless. And it was fucked up. So I just told him that I'm gonna ball out for him for the rest of my life. And that if he so happily comes back, that it's gonna be all for him. My mom and my aunt take me back home that night, and my mom wakes me up in the morning and tells me he's gone. And it was Christmas Eve. Well, actually, I think it was December 23rd. When he passed away was December 23rd at night. I woke up Christmas Eve to them telling me he passed away. And the first thing I remember telling my mom was, are we going to go back home? And I was talking about Michigan, because there was really no reason to be in El Paso anymore. And she said she wanted to. As you can see, it didn't turn out like that. So I balled out for him 8th grade year in track. I hit first in every discus meet or track meet. I placed first in division, and then once again choked in district. Got 4th place again. I set multiple personal records that year. I was 3 feet off of setting a district record, but I set a school record. I actually broke my dad's record, believe it or not, in shot put, which was amazing. And that was the only year I did shot put really good. So I moved on to high school. Freshman year was pretty shit. Played football, didn't play much. We went 1-9. Hurt my neck, hurt my knee, and went and did all my rehab for it, and then played track. I did pretty good. Choked in the district meet again. I don't know why I choke in the district meets. Made the executive decision probably not to play any more sports. At this time, right around then, we moved out of that house that we were living in, and my grandma had passed away as well in that time through my freshman year. And my uncle that was next door was being real arrogant and selfish, I guess you could say. And he was renting us her house. The house was actually supposed to be my dad's when she passed away. Well, it was supposed to be his my dad's and his brother's, my uncle. And then my uncle was going to sign it over to my dad because my uncle already owned a nice house and had tons of money. But he was money hungry, so he started renting us the house. It was a 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, big backyard, gated house, really nice. So we moved in there, lived there for a while. Throughout my whole high school life, I had my own little office. The day room that I had lived in previously when I was in elementary school was like an office. We put desks in there. I put my computer, my Xbox. I put a couch and a bed in there and everything. And that's where all the electronics would be. And then I had their old room, which was the guest room. Had that room to myself, and then my mom had the master bedroom next door to that. So we lived there for a while. I started working on 2 days, or my birthday was February 20th of that year, and I started working March 6th, right after my birthday, at Wiener Schnitzel in El Paso. Worked there for all the way up to my senior year. In the middle of that, I quit for a little while for about 2.5, 3 months. I think the max was 4 months. And left because of some manager problems there. I had already been moved up to a manager, and the other managers left, and some new ones tried to take over, and they were just not having it with me. So I left. I went and worked for Taco Bell for 4 months. Got a call from the supervisor there asking me to come work for them again. So I worked there, worked my way up to assistant manager. Throughout the summer there, I kind of helped out as store manager, which is what the assistant manager does, and whatnot. I was always working, making, money was a problem for us and my mom, so I was always giving her at least $300 out of every one of my checks to help with rent, help with bills. She had taken out a lot of loans and stuff, so that didn't help. So I worked and worked and worked all through high school. Didn't want to go to college. I was just like, well, what's the point? I'm not going to have money for it. So I started looking around, and I was going to become a detention officer right out of high school in El Paso. They make around 45, I think it was like 45,000 max a year, straight out of high school, no college needed. I was going to do that because I wanted to do something in law enforcement. And that was a good start to work my way up to be a cop. So I was looking into it, and then my criminal justice professor at the time there, he was telling me about New Mexico State University, how he went there, he taught here for a little while, and that it was a good place to go. So I went on a trip here, I liked it and everything. He took me back that same year again, awesome, liked it, and I came here actually 4 times for official visits with him, and I kind of fell in love with the campus. Fell in love with the college life, just seeing people, have their own freedom and everything for a while. So I made the decision to get my grades in order, get my shit together, and I chose to come to New Mexico State University and do criminal justice. Right around my graduation time in high school, my uncle was being very rude and disrespectful to us. He had moved out of his house, rented it out to someone, and he moved up to Albuquerque in his trailer, or that in his sleeper home that he had, because he was running a business up there, a very big business, and he just didn't want his house anymore. So he was telling us that he couldn't help us anymore, that because we couldn't afford the rent and everything, that he just wasn't gonna help us. And I was like, come on, the house should have been mine, or my mom's at least, but you're not going to help us, you're going to kick us out. And we had nowhere to go for a while. And then my mom had a boyfriend, so he offered us to let us stay in his place, as long as we help with groceries and whatnot. And we took him up on the offer. So, we said, fuck you, Doug, my uncle, and moved out. We moved into Ray's house. And we still live there. There's some stuff going on right now between them. I don't know. I'm stuck here for another month at least. So I came here to study criminal justice, but that's not working out, so I'm changing my major to creative media and film. I'm not sure how that's gonna go. We'll see. Um, I I hope it's gonna go well. I need a degree. Nowadays, you need a degree to get a job. Most jobs. I still want to do something in law enforcement. There's a lot of departments that really only require you to be 21, and with some college, background, have to have a bachelor's degree. I know there's some departments that don't even require college at all. So if I end up not finishing through this, I'll look for one of those departments. Um, but with all that, I'm still here. Had a couple heartbreaks within my life that are not really need to mention. Yeah, I almost killed myself once or twice. Found out that that's not the way to go. I'm totally against it now. There were a couple people in my life that got me out of that, and I thank you. I'm not sure if you guys want me to say your names, so I'm not going to. But there were 3 people that I had for a class in high school that really looked out for me for a while, and then we all went on our separate ways. But I'm here now. I don't got the balls to do any of that. It's not like I'm gonna go out for something that's stupid. I'd rather go out for something that's like meaningful, I guess you could say. So I'm here. I'm trying to make content for you guys. I'm doing my best. You guys will start seeing a lot more videos. But yeah, that's I guess you could say my life story. There's still a couple little things in there that are touchy. Besides my dad passing, I was gonna put my relationship breakups and stuff like that in there, but those would have been way too long to talk about and stuff. So that could be a separate video of why I don't trust people, I guess you could say. So that's gonna be a separate video probably. But hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's a very long video, but it is what it is. So like I said, my new upload schedule for YouTube will be Mondays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, which is noon Eastern, 11 Central, and 9 Pacific. So I'll be doing that from now on. I also do my Twitch streams. Those are going to be, my normal schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I believe like 7:30 to 10. But I've been streaming every day at around 8:30, 9 o'clock till whenever I feel like it. So you guys will probably see more streams up in there. I'll leave a link to that down in the description of this video. I'll also leave most of my social media handles in there so you guys can follow for any updates on there. My photography page will be in there as well, so you guys can check that out. So until next time, stay safe out there, guys. I'll see you soon. Peace.